Hi everyone, welcome to the One United podcast. I'm Dinat Thomas. I'm joined by Wali Siddiqui and Anshuman Joshi to talk about the United and the United versus Liverpool preview. But we have a breaking news that Wayne Rooney has announced his retirement and will be taking up the managerial post at Derby County. So let's start off with that. Wali, what are your thoughts on that? And how do you remember Wayne Rooney as a United player?
For us millennials particularly, and if you the first thing, the two players that we quite we remember quite fondly is Cristiano Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney, because they were the poster boys of Manchester United. But the thing is that some of our fans actually, this is what I don't get, and we'll get to that. That some of our fans actually are pretty much Ronaldo fanboys, and but they do not appreciate as to what Wayne Rooney was in our time. He was an absolute beast. I hope he has a good retirement. But to sum it up, people nowadays are getting excited about what Harry Kane is doing, about the way that he's creating chances for others, the way that he's scoring. But let me tell you one thing: Wayne Rooney in his prime was a much better version of Harry Kane, because not only did he create chances, score goals, but he also had that long range vision. He was a complete team player. He could even tackle, for God's sake. And he was one of those you in today he was a passion merchant, but a passion merchant with skill, because in today's day and age, if you are a passion merchant, it's quite rare that you have the footballing intelligence and skill. So he
Yeah.
was a great footballer, man. And yeah, uh, he was one of my favorite football players of all time. And then he's the manager of Derby County, and let's not forget that even Frank Lampard was the manager of Derby County, and then he moved to Chelsea. So you can sense a pattern over here. And let's see if he does well in Derby County. You never know. He might be the next manager of, I'm not going to say of United, probably of Everton. And then let's see if he proves himself over there. But yeah, legend of the game. And yeah, man. So let's just wish him all the best.
Anshuman, what do you want to add to what Wali said?
Yeah, well, I am a tad bit sad that Rooney has finally announced his retirement because it's quite young. At 35, it's quite young for him to retire. I mean, he's younger than Ronaldo, for crying out loud. And less than 4 years ago, he was still a captain of Manchester United. And when he moved to Everton, like 4 years ago, I really thought that that would have given him a second lease and would have prolonged his career at the top level. I think he also went on scoring 10 goals within the first half of the season, and that took him to 208 Premier League goals. And I thought he will finally, if he goes like this for another 3 to 4 years, he might even end up breaking Alan Shearer's record. And I think if he was a little more selfish with his goal scoring in his prime days, when Ronaldo and Tevez and Babato was there, or maybe if he would have had a bit more time in the Premier League, I think he deserved it, because he's our all-time goal scorer for Manchester United. He's the all-time goal scorer for the England men's national team. He is the only Premier League player so far to have scored 200 Premier League goals and 100 assists. There is always an aura regarding Wayne Rooney, despite everything that he has won, that he is not one of the very greats of football in general of recent times. And I think that is quite unfair to his to Rooney, not only because of everything that he has achieved, but also because of everything that uh, he has done off the pitch, and he has really emerged as a leadership figure for Manchester United in his final years. And then he has went on. He has had his adventures in America as well, where he did pretty well. And yeah, now at 35, he has finally taken a very unconventional job, I would say, at Derby County. Because when he was appointed as a player manager, I was very surprised, because neither Derby County had that kind of a pedigree of appointing player managers, because player managers have become quite rare in these times. And to work under a manager like Philippe Cocu, and well, all in all, it has been very offbeat the way his career has ended. But in retirement, we wish him very well. We thank him again for all the brilliant years he has given us. I mean, as Wali has rightly put, he was, as far as the way we consume our football here, he was one of our poster boys. And for us, especially for the Manchester United fans, he'll always be one of the finest footballers to play the game in the recent history. And yeah, all the best in his retirement. And so far, as caretaker manager for Derby County, he has done a pretty decent job. And let's hope that he gets better from there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with both of you. Like for me, Wayne Rooney was actually my favorite player, even when Cristiano Ronaldo used to be there, especially in the final year. Because like I think Wally brought up a great point about Harry Kane and Wayne Rooney's comparison. I think one thing that we have to give to Wayne Rooney was that he could play right back, left back, striker, midfield, anything that Harry Kane and even many other players can do in multiple positions. He was like a very versatile player, and adding to that, his he was a proper captain player for us. Like he was our last big captain. I know Harry Maguire is his armband is questionable. Bruno is a player like that, but to add to his longevity in the Premier League, he came in as a 16-year-old boy, did whatever he did, and he literally won everything with us. Even the FA Cup, yeah. So he literally won everything with us. So I mean, he's been such an idol for me growing up. And obviously, there had been times when fans have been on the fence about him when he handed in his transfer request, when he and Ferguson clashed. I remember even in Ferguson's last interview, he mentioned about Wayne Rooney's transfer request when he was retired, when Ferguson was retiring, which I felt was a bit odd. But throughout all that, Wayne Rooney was a loyal servant for our club, and he did all he could for us. He gave his 100%. He had the likes of Ronaldo, Van Nistelrooy, Zlatan, a lot of great forwards, and he was still Wayne Rooney. Like he wasn't replaceable. He was still there supporting the other great players, and he did a fantastic job for us. And I was so honored to even go to America, like you said, and watch him twice play for DC United,
DC United.
Even though they didn't win the MLS Cup, but he is
Mhm.
still considered as a very big player. Like even if they have like other Premier League fans, like Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans who support DC United, they all respected Wayne Rooney, and hopefully he does well for Derby County. Hopefully he does a better job than Lampard. That way he'll easily get a pass to become United manager in the future. Who knows? So yeah, we
one
wish him
one
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing, Dylan, I would like to add over here for Wayne Rooney is that he was a great player, but he belonged from that ilk, from
Hmm.
that generation, particularly with that philosophy, in which when you're in your late 30s, especially in your mid 30s, sorry, in your mid 30s, you slightly let things happen. For example, if you look at a Diego Maradona or the older players, the George Best, these
Hmm.
players actually retired quite early because of the way that they lived life in general outside of the football field. And
Hmm.
I think Wayne Rooney, if you look at the controversies that he had, and his drinking and smoking, there were rumors about that as well.
Yeah.
Had he maintained the protocols of the today's day and age, especially in the sporting world, in terms of fitness, he would still be one of the best footballers in the world. I think that's the
Yep.
only thing that let him down. But I think Wayne Rooney belongs to that category. He was wrong. He was born in the wrong generation. You could say that. Otherwise, if he was, let's say, if he was born in the era of Diego Maradona or someone else, I think he would have been far, far more respected because
Yeah.
fitness and everything else, it wasn't considered as much as it is right now.
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think that was his demise. But yeah, that's
Like
all I have
George
to say
Best,
about him.
like George Best, he's
He retired. He
a
retired when
legend.
he was like 30, 32 or something like that. George Best, if I'm
Yeah,
not
and
mistaken.
but like he had all these off-field
Yeah.
stuff, but that wasn't a big deal like how it was right now. And you are spot on about that. Like obviously Rooney was like even for England fans also to for them to appreciate him as the top goal scorer of the country. It's a bit hard because he didn't perform like in the main tournaments, but he did his best. He's the top scorer when he retired. So yeah, I mean all the best as a manager. Hopefully, he can even be the England manager in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe lift a World Cup with the England squad. Very unlikely, but if Gareth Southgate can reach them to the semifinals,
It's
surely
coming home.
Wayne Rooney can, yeah, bring it home. All right, so
Yeah.
let's move from Wayne Rooney. Let's talk about something that happened today as well, which was a Paul Pogba Sky News interview. Saw it as soon as it came out. Quite interesting. A lot of quotes over there about how Pogba is feeling, what he's going through in his head. Also previewing the match against Liverpool. So Anshuman, if you watched the interview, what are your thoughts on Paul Pogba now compared to 3 weeks ago when the whole scandal with his agent happened?
Well, I watched the snippets of the interview, and I'm highly disappointed that they had Patrick Davison to conduct the interview and not Graham Souness, because that would have been one hell of an interview. Anyway,
Yep.
I'm being facetious. Uh, I think my opinion of Paul Pogba from 2 3 weeks ago has not changed, because when the whole thing came out about him wanting to leave and Mino Raiola making those slanderous comments, I came here and I said that this does not change, this does not give us any new information that we have already not known, that Paul Pogba wishes to leave, and that it is in Manchester United's best interest that we let him go in the coming transfer window, like in the summer. because that is the only way I think we can get some money in return. And once you have, from various channels, directly, indirectly, one way or the other, one as a football player, you have announced that you wish to leave. So the other part of the argument is that you need to make yourself an appealing target, right? Like if we talk about all the possible teams that could go for Paul Pogba, and the thing is that for a player that divisive, you need a very ironclad case to spend any kind of money on him, right? And if you are a football club looking to buy Pogba in summer, you need to spend some amount of money, and the 60 million euros that was being rumored about. So as Paul as a player, he need because he was not really playing well as well. He was not even in the starting lineup. That is something that he addressed in that interview as well, that he hates being on the bench. I think a lot of credit here goes not only to Paul, because well, he is mandated. He needs to perform well, because in 6 months' time he needs to present himself as a player that can bring about that change to any football club who might want to go for him. And much more credit to Solskjaer, because when it came out, I was really interested in seeing how he deals with the situation. Because everyone around the club, even though you're specialists, pundits, and fans, you are all going, well, sack Paul Pogba, sack Mino Raiola. We should never talk with this person again. But the harsh reality of the matter is that football agents in the last few years have become a very powerful commodity in their own right. And whether you like them or not, whether you like their agency or not, you have to accept the fact that they are the necessary evils that have been a byproduct of how the player and club liaisons have progressed over the past few years. That is how they have rose to power. And going forward, every football club has to work with them in some capacity, whether they agree it or not. And we look about a lot many transfer targets that we have in Holland, and a lot many players. They are all, for better or worse, have agents like Rayola. I mean, Holland is Rayola's client right now. So we can't just look at an agent and go, well, we are not never dealing with this guy ever again, because then we are more to lose as a football club that is trying to get better and better. We are not at the topmost cream club right now. We are a club that needs a lot of support and a lot of right decisions as well. So on that regard, I think Oli has done brilliantly, because instead of ostracizing Pogba from completely from the starting bench, like something that in a certain weird way happened with Ozil at Arsenal, like it's not the same thing.
Right.
It wasn't an agent issue, but for better or worse, the club decided not to stick with Ozil and let him and banished him from the team entirely. Here in this situation, we have someone like Solskjaer, and I really hope this was something that would happen, because once the player announces that they wish to leave, that doesn't mean that there should be any kind of animosity between the club and the player, and you should not really, vilify the player in such a way like, now that you've decided to leave, you mean nothing to us. That doesn't necessarily need to happen. Now that I think in the background there is a bit of transparency between the manager and Pogba. Yeah, well, you wish to leave, that is fine, but that doesn't mean that you cannot perform for the club in the time you are here as well, right? Because like I just said, you need to present yourself as a viable option for even if a club is coming for you. So I think that has happened, and Paul Pogba was playing very below par as far as even if his average performances are concerned in the recent weeks. So it was only a matter of time before he started performing well again, and inevitably that has happened not only because of him stepping up his game, but because Manchester United in general has been performing quite consistently and brilliantly in the recent weeks. I mean, our defense has its faults, and every time we concede, we have our usual suspects, but we have been more consistent. That is quite undeniable. And Paul Pogba is just one of those few players who have come out on top. So I think fair play to Solskjaer to, his man management skills are once again come into the foray, to have been able to deal with Pogba in such a situation that despite that we believe that he is going to leave in the summer, he is still getting a tune out of him, and Paul Pogba is playing brilliantly. And we have a very important month coming in front of us, so it's very fortunate for us that we have an informed Pogba at the moment.
Wally, what do you think about it? I mean, you have been quite more of a like Paul Pogba defender. So what are your thoughts on this now?
Yeah, man. The reason why I've defended Paul Pogba over the years is because I have full faith in his ability, and we might say whatever we want, but he is one of the best midfielders in the world, and that's been the case for quite a while. But the thing is that it hasn't worked so far. But the good thing right now, if you look at it, I think this is the happiest and this is the most consistent that he's ever looked. And like Manshuman just now stated, I think the credit has to be given to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well. And if you look, even if you look at the interview, it was quite a positive one, because usually when we talk about interviews, there's always a bit of a controversial question here or there regarding a move, but it wasn't the case today. And the good thing is that he's able to express himself openly right now, and it's quite sad to think about the fact that he might be leaving at the end of the window, because he is one of a kind. And if you have a happy Paul Pogba in your team, then as well as a fully functioning team, you look at Bruno Fernandes, the way that he's performing, Eric Bailly, this now looks like a proper team at the moment. And the good thing about it, Paul Pogba over here, is that Bruno Fernandes for the past couple of games hasn't been at his best, at his usual standards. And in spite of that, we are still managing to win games. In those games, it's been Paul Pogba who has played a crucial role. The way that he's anchored the midfield. We are talking about Nemanja Matic, Eric Bailly, everyone. So this sense of cohesiveness is now there in the team. And like he said, he hates to be on the bench. I think the reason why Mino Raiola came out with that statement was, if you remember the game against RB Leipzig, I think the final Champions League game, through which we got knocked out. I think
Mhm.
Solskjaer might have had a word with him, or he might have leaked the team to the. He might have leaked the playing 11. I think Paul Pogba got to know about that somehow. Probably he was told, and probably he was not, pleased with what was going to happen over there. And as a result, he made his agent speak. So yeah, the thing is that we have to let these things go pass aside right now at the moment, because if Paul Pogba, by the end of the day, if he wins the Premier League along with Manchester United, if he wants to leave, I think he'll leave on a happy note. That will be the perfect closure.
Mhm.
Yes, we there will be some of us who would be hoping that, yeah, he stays, but I know, we all know, that once that form dips, the media will be back on him again, and then his agent will be talking about making a certain move once again, and the cycle will continue. So for us, I think it'll be better if we get that closure. Although I would want him to fire his stupid agent. I hate that guy. That's not going to happen. But yeah, he's been performing quite well. And yes, I think majority of the credit has to go to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because I honestly did not think that he would be able to turn this around, especially after that Leipzig game. This is, I think, the best thing that he's done so far, and it is actually affecting the team as well in terms of
Mhm.
performances. So that's quite impressive from his end.
I think like going with what you mentioned about Ole and his management skills. I think one thing that he actually properly learned from Sir Alex Ferguson, how to handle big players with big character.
He did that with
Seeing
Wayne Rooney,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Sir
he did
Alex.
that with Wayne Rooney. So I can see how Ole has got his lessons from the greatest manager ever. And speaking of Paul, obviously, yeah, his agent is the one that painted him in that position before the Leipzig game. He seems like a very likable guy. I think even the players like him. We saw
Yeah.
that with Bailly and him enjoying. Even with Fosu Mensah, he was actually
He
like,
was friends with Timothy Fosu Mensah,
I
man.
know,
That
yeah.
that speaks volumes.
Exactly. So like he is friends, like
Poor guy.
he likes to
Poor
be
guy.
friends with people around the club, and I think every player likes him. Like it's not like he is like a bad influence on the players as well. Like everyone wants to be around Paul Pogba, whether it's in the first 11 or in the dressing room. So obviously, like there's a good camaraderie between all the players around him, and obviously, like when we are playing well, Pogba would like that as well because he is a World Cup winner. He wants to be at his level best. So even when I thought after that incident he would never be able to play for United, I thought him and United story is done. It might be like a Mesut Ozil situation where we block him completely out of the club and do everything bad to ruin his career, which kind of what Arsenal did. But I'm glad Ole really did take it upon him, and he's utilizing him very well. He's starting more
Yeah.
and more games. Whether he comes off the bench, he does well. I know in the interview he said that he doesn't like being on the bench. But yeah, I think the interview was, like he spoke well. The questions were a bit difficult, where it was a bit challenging for him. But I think he handled the questions well, and he said that he's happy right now. And I know he might also leave, like Wally you said, but hopefully he leaves as a Premier League champion, like how Ronaldo left us for Real Madrid. So yeah, but as long as Pogba is happy, the team is doing well. I think every United fan can get aboard with it.
But
Speaking, yeah,
one thing that I would like to add over here is
mhm,
that I honestly don't think that the Real Madrid project is as exciting right now as it was like six or
Yeah, I
7 years
agree.
ago. Barcelona
So
is on the demise. PSG, probably he might go there. You never know
probably,
because it's France. Manchester United right now is the most exciting project. If you look at the trajectory, if you
mhm,
look at the young players that are coming in our club, he can actually be one of the leaders in on the pitch.
yeah.
So that is exactly why it would be really disappointing if he leaves, because we all know that he will be vital for the team. But yeah, let's just see what happens.
Not just that, even if you look at the league, English teams have been doing generally much more better than in the last 5 to 10 years. Like
Yeah.
more Premier League clubs are like being like Man City is always being favorites for winning the Champions League. Liverpool is like one of the best teams right now. So if United are
Mm,
going on par with City and Liverpool, this is the best place to
mm,
be. Winning a Premier League is much more bigger than winning
mm.
even La Liga or even Bundesliga or Liga
Exactly.
or so definitely this is a great prospect. I think Juventus might be his ideal destination for him if he leaves, but we'll see if he wants to go back or not. But speaking of Paul Pogba and the team, let's go preview the Liverpool versus United match, which is the biggest game that we've been having since the past 7 years. Anshuman, how is this gonna go? How should Ole approach this game? What's gonna be the tactics? And what do you? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, despite the Manchester United and Liverpool rivalry being one of the tastiest ones on paper, this match has been a bit of a damn squib over the past few years because every time we big up the game as this a clash of the titans and everything, but the match usually ends up being a bit of a disappointment, like nil nils, 1-0 or 2-0 or something like that. It's never an explosive affair. Never really translates into the pitch the way we expect it to be. And this is the first time since April 1997 that Manchester United and Liverpool going into a match, both teams being one first and second. So we, despite having this perception that Manchester United and Liverpool on a long in a long run are the two biggest teams in the land, they haven't really gone for the title in the very same year. Like, yeah, I think there was the 2008-9 title in which Liverpool ended up second, but even then, for a greater part, Chelsea held the second position. So yeah, I think this is very exciting because this is for the first time in a long time that both Manchester United and Liverpool are gunning for the same title so far. And I think if this when the season started, if anyone would have told me that we would be going to Liverpool at Anfield and we would be top of the table, I would have laughed off. I would have laughed my ass off because I would not have. I couldn't even in my most optimistic times would have expected Manchester United to be top of the table anytime close because I've constantly said that we need to be up there, and it's just hilarious how things have panned out so far for us because I did not envision United ending anywhere near the first position, and we are going into this match like the league leaders. I don't expect this to last. I don't know how far we can fall from this position, but I'm just enjoying this as it's going on. And if even when you talk about perform, if there was any time like Liverpool haven't lost the match at Anfield in so long, and if there was any time you would have wanted as Manchester United, you would have wanted Liverpool to face at Anfield. I think this is it because we are as good as we have been in a long time, and Liverpool are as shaky as they have been in a long time because we are consistent and we are able to grind out our results. Again, I mean, the match against Burnley was not a mean feat, not no easy feat in any stretch of the imagination because we have had a hard time breaking teams down at Anfield and we were able to come up with a 1-0 victory. And the interesting thing with Liverpool is that the defensive issues that we all thought they were going to have when Van Dijk got injured, they were able to plaster off the on the cracks for a long time. But now that Joe Gomez has gotten injured and Joel Matip has gotten injured, they have find themselves in a very problematic situation because this Fabinho is a very handy operator as a defensive player because we know him as a center defensive midfielder. But when he was at Real Madrid, he used to operate from the right back position. So he was always very ironclad option as far as defensive options go, and he can definitely play the centre back role. But the problem is Liverpool don't really have any centre backs right now. I mean, Fabinho is brilliant to play alongside a centre back, but they don't have any centre back. Like the last match they played against Southampton, they were playing Jordan Henderson in centre back alongside Fabinho. So that is a problem because that means that the defense is not as ironclad as you would expect it to be. Alexander-Arnold certainly is not enjoying playing alongside two CDMs in place of centre backs. So they have their problems and they have a very penetrable defense right now. I mean, as far as their attack go, and I'm expecting Thiago Alcantara to have to be the pivotal player in their midfield tomorrow. I still don't know if I don't think they are right there that they can expect to be perform brilliantly as they have, especially in the last season. And I think we should go into tomorrow's match with a lot of optimism. I mean, despite being the league leaders, because of the recent history of Liverpool and Manchester United, I think you'll still be going as underdogs. And I think Oli and I would in general enjoy being an underdog in a match with nobody expecting you to win. I think that is why that has been the United surge to the top of the league has been so enjoyable, because no one was giving us any prayer. And as far as Jurgen Klopp is concerned, I mean, you think about managers he would be a rabbit to, right? Like Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho. If like of all the managers that could have taken on Jurgen Klopp, the one person that has actually been able to rattle him so far is our very own PE teacher. So it's a very enjoyable narrative.
We lost him.
Yeah, we have lost Anshuman. Wali, you can continue. I mean, you can tell your point.
Yeah, yeah. That final point was quite savagery from Paritos, that the PE teacher is actually rattling Jurgen Klopp over here. And yes, he is to a significant level. Uh, I think it's going to be a tight game. I think both teams will be playing with the intention of not to lose rather than of winning the game. This is the feeling that I have right now, because even Jurgen Klopp has this. He's a bit low on confidence, especially if you consider the fact that he drew against West Brom, Newcastle, and then lost against Southampton. The quality that we have on the pitches, it's the squad depth that we have is impeccable at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see as to with what shape we start over here. And the weakness, I think, for both of us right now is the same. I think the right hand side is the weakness at the moment. Even though Aaron Wan-Bissaka is supposed to be our best one-on-one defender, I think Luke Shaw is actually doing a much better job than Wan-Bissaka defensively
Yep.
as well as offensively. So that's good. Good on Luke Shaw. And even if you talk about Liverpool, I think Robertson is doing much better than what Trent Alexander-Arnold is doing defensively. I think defensively, Trent Alexander-Arnold was never the guy. But yeah,
Mhm.
offensively also he's seemed to lost his touch. But in order to win against Liverpool, you have to neutralize their wing backs, because they will be crossing in, whipping in balls at will, and that has been our weakness for quite a while. If Eric Bay is fit enough, so if Eric Bay and Harry Maguire will be starting, then I am confident that we won't be leaking any silly
Yeah.
goals. But if it's Lindelof and Maguire for some stupid reason, then I would actually be quite worried. I think
Mm.
that'll be our only concern, and it'll be about our approach. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I have this funny feeling that he might be starting Dan James for further defensive stability towards
Ooh.
the right, because that's what he can do, track back and make Iron Man Bissaka's job easier. But I
Mhm.
hope he doesn't do that, because the way that we've been performing with these current lot of players has been impeccable. I think
Mhm.
Matic might sit on the bench. We were having this earlier conversation that we might need a high energy, high intensity player like a Fred,
Right.
and then Fred, McTominay, and but do you think that if how do you fit in Paul Pogba? If you want to play him, then you have to either have Cavani on the bench or someone else, Martial on the bench. Like,
Mhm.
what do you guys do?
Okay, so
I think that
Mhm.
the interesting thing about Paul Pogba is like it's not that he can't defend. He's a very complete footballer when it comes to playing, and when he's in form, he does definitely can. But this is something that he has said time and time again, that he does not like defending. Right. So if you
Mhm.
put a lot of instructions on him that he has to track down players, do this, do that, acquire certain positions, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do any of that. The best way to get Paul Pogba to play good for you is that if you just let him be, just let him be. Don't tell him anything. Just tell him, dude, you go out, you occupy whatever position you can, and you do your thing. And then he not only gets into the attacking positions, and he does the defensive duties as well. Something that he has been doing over the past couple of matches. So I think because Cavani is available to play, and because he has started Rashford on the right hand side for a lot of times, I think Paul Pogba likes to play on the left center midfield position. He likes to just occupy that side. That is his natural position on the pitch. That is what I think he will be playing with. And in general, I think we can start with a 4-2-3-1. in which he plays a part of a defensive pivot, where he's allowed to run free and he will be provided cover with someone like McTominay. I think Matic did brilliantly against Burnley last time out, but
Mhm.
Burnley did not have any pace. They don't usually do not. In which situation Matic is a very handy operator. And if there is anything Matic's performance against Burnley told us anything, is that if we can actually have a proper number six, a proper defender, central defensive midfielder who can just sit on the base of that midfield and let Bruno and Pogba do their thing, I think that is the best way we can get use of our midfield. So that again goes to show how important it is for us to get a proper number six in someone who can just play a sole center defensive role as well. So I think the best way we can use Pogba this time around because he is performing well. That is the biggest thing for us right now. He is playing well. So I think I'm assuming we'll start with a 4-2-3-1 because Oli, while he's brilliant against these one-on-one big teams, I think he usually tries to stick to the formula that is working in recent while, and the 4-2-3-1 with an informed Pogba playing alongside a defensive midfielder in either McTominay or Matic, depending on what the situation requires. He usually performs well. So I think that is what we're going to start with. We're going to have a defensive pivot or McTominay and Pogba for me.
Interesting. Actually, I'm gonna straight away go with the team news. I mean, you both have said very valid points. I think he's gonna go with the base diamond where the four the four defense would pick themselves: Van Bissaka, Bai, Maguire, and Shaw. I think McTominay would be the CDM. Fred would be on the right center mid. Pogba left center mid. Bruno as a attacking mid, and I think he'll go with Rashford and Cavani. I think
Yeah,
he might
I'm also assuming.
or I might think that he might start Rashford and Martial and bring on Cavani depending on how the game is, because I mean we know how Liverpool attacks and you need fast runners, so there's a very possible chance either Martial or Cavani can play. But I think he will try to overload their midfield because their midfield presses so well, and if we have four midfielders, especially McTominay, Fred, and Pogba, and obviously Bruno playing right in front of them, I think that would be the ideal way to go. Again, like I think like what Wally said, I think Ole might be going for a draw, or because even a draw is a great result, but knowing their home record and stuff, we are the only team that is capable of beating it. But yeah, like I hope we don't play that defensive, but I would get even if you are being a bit conservative, like him having a conservative approach. Wally, do you want to add anything to your team news? Wait, I think we can't hear you, Wally.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to state an interesting fact over here. Our last away defeat in the Premier League was against Liverpool last season. That
The
was our
2-0
last.
defeat, yes.
That was our last away defeat, and Liverpool have been the best team in the Premier League, especially when it comes to home form, and we've been the best team when it comes to away form. So just somehow, if we manage to beat them, even if we make a 1-0 win, I think, like I said, I earlier mentioned this as well. If we beat City in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, that could have a trampoline effect in terms of the title campaign as well. But if you beat Liverpool, I think this will be much more significant because you beat Liverpool. Not only do you beat Liverpool, you tarnish their home record. You beat the defending champions. You beat your arch rivals, and then you also have a 6-point gap over Liverpool. And I don't think there's anywhere. I honestly do not think that the confidence level will go down after that for Manchester United. It's the only way to look is up if we manage to beat them somehow. Which is why it's a huge game. So symbolically, call it symbolically, whatever it is, but it is actually a huge game. And yes, I wouldn't mind if it's a draw. But if we manage to, you remember that game in the Louis Van Gaal when we were facing Liverpool at Anfield, and then Wayne
Yeah,
Rooney, we
the
had
Fellaini
nothing to
hit
do
the
in that
bar.
game.
Yeah,
We did not do anything in that game. We just got that one shot on target. We won that game, and then we
yeah,
celebrated like crazy. I wouldn't
that's
mind
yeah,
that. So
same.
let's just hope for a win, man.
Now I would prefer we get a penalty 91st minute. Bruno takes it
That would
1.
be.
That's the best
90,
Then
in
it,
life.
95th minute penalty, a very shoddy
Football
penalty, and
to
no, you
football
haven't
to
completed it, man. 95th minute penalty. Allison saves it. It's retaken because he's off the line, and then
Oh
he
yeah,
scores once again. It should
that
be
is
that.
true.
nice.
That's how
All
it
right,
should be.
so
Yeah.
guys, let's do the final
Klopp would
segment of
lose
the
his
show.
shit, man. Klopp would lose his shit. I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that.
I think Klopp would
He's
lose
Because
his
so
spot.
rattled right now. It's so rattled right now. I'm loving him.
Yeah,
I'm loving him.
Even Mark
He's a soul
Clattenburg
booster.
came and come out and said that even his players get penalties. And yeah, exactly. And even Rashford, by the way, before to mention that he today morning in the press told that Mourinho told him
I
how
love
to
that
win
from Rashford.
penalties. Yeah,
I love that.
spilling some
He's,
secrets of Mourinho, and Mourinho was criticizing us for getting penalties. But
Rashford, Martial, and Pogba, they all hate Mourinho,
I know,
man. They all hate
without
Mourinho.
a doubt,
Yeah.
without a doubt, yeah, I'm sure. And not just them. I'm probably sure in Mata and pretty much everyone wants Mourinho to fail badly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's
Anyways,
go.
predictions.
Yeah, the final segment, predictions. Wally, you go first.
With all, whenever there's a hype for a really big game, we always get disappointed with a goalless draw.
Yeah.
So that is exactly what we might get, a goalless draw. That it's going to be nil
Okay.
nil, I guess.
Yeah, we take that. We take a goalless draw.
Yeah.
Anshuman, yours?
Well, the only thing that I want United to do tomorrow is play well. And I think, given the way they've been performing, given the way they've been showing how the team togetherness, every time they win the match, they like huddling together. If they have behind the scenes footage is brilliant, it's very optimistic. I'm not that worried about tomorrow's match because I want us to play well, and I think we are going to play well. And
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those matches where, irrespective whether you win, lose, or draw, I don't think the reaction should be a very volatile one. I don't think we should get overboard with title aspirations, or we should get disheartened that we're just going to end up 10th now.
Mm.
I think I would definitely take a draw. Although if we do draw, that would take us off the contention for the top of the table, because then it would that would put the ball in Manchester City's court, who, despite, because they have played one game less, they are 4 points away from us, and if they win the game in hand, they go 1 point within us. So I'm still thinking that a bigger challenge to the title right now is Manchester City, because of the way the defense
Yep.
have been able to perform.
Yep.
If they can get
Mm-hmm.
their attack right, they are right up there. Liverpool seem to have more problems, but I think as far as the league is concerned, I think this is the season that if it has told us anything, it's that the league will be won by the team that can get the most points even in their worst phases. Because every
Yeah.
club right now, we have had so many leaders, right? We have had table leaders in Everton, Aston Villa, Liverpool, United, Tottenham, Chelsea. Everyone has had a crack, and everyone is playing badly. Every team has had their bad phases as well. So I think even in our bad phases, the only thing that we need to do right now is play well and get any points that we can. That is the mark of a champion. This is not
Mm-hmm.
going to be a season where a team wins the league by 15 to 20 points, 95, 96 points. No, it's going to be a cagey affair. And I would love to have at least 5 to 6 contenders going into the last 2 months. That's what I want. I think in the long run, I just want us not to be at the table top. I just want us to be within 7 to 10 points of the top going into April. I think that is good enough for me. I think that is something that can really go into our favor. So tomorrow's match, I think I'll gladly take a 1-0 victory. Just any
Wow.
kind of shady goal and then split out for the
Nice.
rest of the match. I want a proper Mourinho masterclass. I'll take a 1-0
Nice.
victory. Anyway, shape, or
I
form.
I'm I mean, I agree with everything what Anshuman said. That even I was also thinking like there have been so many league leaders, and every time a team has been on top, like let's say Spurs was on top, they fell down. Chelsea was on top, they fell down. I don't want us to be that team to also fall.
Yep.
Even Everton also, like you said. But if we were to win tomorrow, that means we could actually retain being at top, at least for whenever City play the spare game. But their spare game is against Everton. Let's not forget that it is against Everton, which is a very tough team. And I haven't seen I've seen the both City's previous games, but it has been quite close, like 1-0 and stuff. Um, I know they are doing really well defensively, but their attack has been a bit blunt, which is not like how Man City usually approach a season. But for tomorrow, as much as I want, like my heart says it's gonna be 2-0 to United. I think we might actually beat them, not that convincingly. Like we would be leading 1-0, and in the end, someone scores 2-0. Like how Marshall should have scored against Burnley and could have made it 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
But my brain
Mm-hmm.
kind of says it's going to be 1-1. I think it's going to be like how we played last season, where they score the goal or we score a goal and then one team equalizes in the 80th to 90th minute. But I would take a draw at this moment because still being 3 points ahead of Liverpool. And we have Fulham, we have Sheffield United, Arsenal, all small teams to play. So we could
I see what you did there.
we could bag 9 points against these three teams, and you can still maintain that 3 point lead or 4 point or whatever lead between City and Liverpool. So yeah, I would take a 1-1 draw, but hopefully we do get a win. And yeah, with that, let's see how it goes on Sunday. We will join you guys after the game with the review. Hopefully, we are all ecstatic, happy, and we have knocked Liverpool off the Anfield perch. Maybe some another Hornfield moment where maybe Rashford gets a couple goals, or Cavani comes off the bench, scores a late header.
One final thing. How would you want your winner to be? Either a Bruno Fernandes penalty, like we earlier discussed, or Amad Diallo doing an Anthony Martial debut
I
coming
want
off the bench,
I really want Amad Diallo to come on and score like Marshall. That would be crazy. If Martin Tyler,
and
if you're the
Martin Tyler
commentator,
being the
please.
broadcaster.
Martin Tyler might. I'm very worried about his health if something happens to Martin Tyler. I mean, Martial was hard enough. Martial was hard enough,
Yeah.
and he really
Hopefully,
enjoys the United goal. Martin Tyler.
yeah, that's true. And hopefully he's there on Sunday and cheering on when we score a goal. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining. That's been our preview for the Liverpool United game. We'll join you guys after the match, hopefully with a win or a draw even. All right.